Hello, and welcome once again to the Secrets of the High Demand Coach podcast. And I am here with, you guessed it, yet another high demand coach and consultant and speaker and just all around amazing person. It is the one, the only Chelsea Husum, who stands out in the male-dominated construction industry, exemplifying entrepreneurship, personal growth, and empowerment through her successful startup. Her newest book, Real Vibes Only, an Unapologetic Confessions of a Hot Mess MomPreneur, merges entrepreneurship and motherhood with resilience and honesty. What truly distinguishes Chelsea is her relatability and self-deprecating humor, making her an inspiring and relatable figure. She doesn't just share stories, she brings them to life, motivating listeners to feel connected and seen. In a world filled with curated content, she offers authenticity. And I can attest to that. In the short time I had to prepare for this, it was all over in everything that I read. It's just a genuine, authentic experience. I had a lot of fun with it. I know our listeners are going to. Chelsea, welcome to the show. So excited to have you here.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, so I asked you this question ahead of time because your typical, yours is not the typical entrepreneurial journey, especially from an industry perspective. So how did you, as a female entrepreneur, find your way into the construction industry?
So I have a Spanish degree and a broadcast journalism degree, and thought I was going to be the next Barbara Walters. Did not end up going that route because I didn't want to make 20 grand and work nights and weekends. So actually after college, I worked in experiential and trade show marketing for a while, like 5 or 6 years. Then I just didn't feel like I was doing anything worthwhile with my life. So I quit that, got my master's in education, and became a high school Spanish teacher for 10 years. And then one day, a kid called me an effing waste of space. And I was like, oh, okay. It was just like, yeah, I don't love this anymore. And so I was just like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with my life? I felt kind of like pigeonholed, and I had no clue what I was going to now do. And so I applied for all these jobs. No one called me, which was really, really sad and depressing at the time. But the only job I got offered was a office manager for a different construction company. But it got me into commercial construction. Really, I got trained like 2 days, learned the hard way. It was rough. I cried a lot. I was like, what is all of this? Because it's a whole nother world. And then in March of 2020, I started my company. And yeah, and I actually worked 2 years ago today was the day I quit the second job. And I worked those 2 jobs for a couple of years, and then finally stepped out into running my own company solely, which was amazing.
Wow. What would you say along this journey, especially as you stepped into the entrepreneurial world and started your own, what are some of the biggest challenges that you faced being both an entrepreneur and a mom?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of them. Being an entrepreneur is difficult. It's not immediate success. I had to learn the hard way, and I asked a ton of questions, and I remember, when I first started the company and a client would call, I'd be like, I was just so nervous, and like, what if they ask me something I don't know? And now I can ramble on about it forever, right? Because I know it inside and out. But, it just took a while to actually feel comfortable with what you were doing and really know it, like I said, inside and out. But juggling everything, I mean, it's hard. You have to set boundaries. I go to bed really early. I'm by 9, I am in bed at the latest during the week, because I get up at 5:30. I go to the gym first thing, because my phone starts ringing at 6 or 7 in the morning. It's early. They're all out on the job site calling. So I've found that for me, I have to set my day up really well, get some energy. That's the only time I have, because I don't know about you, but like if I'm like, I'm going to work out later today, I'm tired, something happens, it always is derailed for me. So I know if I do it first thing in the morning, all my excuses are not going to come into play. And just, you have to set boundaries with your time. Early on, I'd have all these insurance people or bankers being like, hey, can we have coffee? I want to support you, see how I can support you. And it's like, and I used to take all those meetings, and now I just nicely say no, because it's like, I'm not switching banks or insurance. It's a waste of your time. It's not a good use of my time, right? So you have to, as you grow, I think you realize what your time's worth and what you need to spend it on. Like, is it moving your business forward or not?
Yeah. What do you think are some of the advantages that you had based on your background, being a mom, being a female in the construction industry? What are some of the advantages that you felt like you walked in with?
I think I'm just a really hard worker in general, and not giving up. So there are really hard days, but it's just keeping, you keep going, and hey, okay, I don't know the answer, but I can call somebody to find out. Or, you gotta be kind of scrappy and just figure it out, because you're not gonna know everything right now. But yeah, I would say that was probably the biggest thing.
Awesome. What were some of the lies that you feel? Because one of the things that I've found, especially for entrepreneurs, before we jump in, we don't really recognize how personal the journey is, right? We kind of think business is business, but when it's you, right? It's a deeply personal endeavor. What were some of the lies that you felt like you had to break through to really get to success as an entrepreneur?
I think a lot of us, well, for me specifically, but probably many other people deal with imposter syndrome. Like, well, who am I to start this company? Who am I to be successful? Like, who am I to, like, I'm going out into a market in Denver. It's not a small market. Who am I? Why would people want to work with me? And honestly, eventually you have to say, no, I know what I'm doing. I know what I offer. I know the value I have, right? And know that the people that are meant to work with you are going to work with you. And the beauty of you being the boss, if somebody comes to you and it's not aligned, or they're not treating you well, or it's just not going well, you don't have to work with them. You get to choose not to, right? So it's being aligned with that for sure.
Yeah. Another thing about the journey we don't quite know before we jump in is just how hard it is, right? You've talked several times about it's just this kind of doggedness. What are some of those challenging moments for you? And looking back on them now, what did they form in you to help you create the success that you have now?
One specifically, I mean, I've had a lot, and it's just kind of, growing pains, learning how to manage employees. That's a lot, or having a bunch of assets and, having cash flow, operating expenses coming in. That's always a tough one. But I mean, I've gone through hard times in general, and, up until December of 23, for like 2.5 years, I was in a really intense lawsuit. And so honestly, that having to wake up, be a mom, be a wife, run a company, and not just like lose your mind every day due to the stress and the heaviness and the overwhelm constantly, being attacked and living in fear, truly, for 2.5 years, I would wake up in hives. I really wasn't okay. And so that was hard personally, going through that, but still having to pull it together in every way and keep going forward. But one day I woke up and I'm like, I'm not okay. And this was a ways into it. And I texted a friend who's a therapist, and I said, I need help. I'm not okay. She's like, I got you. So knowing that I just was not okay, and I'd wake up in the middle of the night like, oh, it's not a nightmare. This is real. Or my kids asking me, Mommy, when are we losing our house? Mom, here's $12. You need it more than I do. Like, literally just broke my heart. I was like, I can't do this anymore. So that was extremely difficult, and probably by far the hardest thing I've gone through, while also having to live life and perform, right? So I say that because life's hard and we all go through adversity. Every single person. That's the guarantee of the human experience, right? But it's okay. You have to do the work when you're in it, because it feels like it's going to break you at that time. It won't, but you have to dig out, and you have to do things that make you physically and mentally feel okay, or you're not going to get out of it, or you're not going to come out of it stronger.
Yeah. Why is it? Because I've found, especially in a moment of kind of sobriety or honesty, just about every entrepreneur has passed through that kind of challenge, right? They've had those moments. Why is it that there's such a pressure to glamorize the process?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that like the majority of really successful people have declared bankruptcy, have been sued, have gone through really, really hard times, right? And with my book, I've kind of found it's a bunch of short stories from my life of things I've gone through. And really my goal with that is to say, let's all stop pretending we need to appear perfect and appear like nothing's bothering us. Because I know every time I put something out there, people are like, thank you for just saying it and for being real, because I've been feeling this. And but I feel like I'm alone, right? So I don't understand why we feel we need to suffer in silence or have to act perfect. If you actually are authentic and real and vulnerable, the connection with your people who you're supposed to connect with are so much deeper.
Yeah, that's so true. So I'm wondering if we're just practically, because one of the things I love about entrepreneurs is that we can be both this kind of philosophical on where we're going and why, but then there's also this deeply practical aspect of what we do. And you even mentioned a couple of these things before earlier, but I'm wondering if just practically, how is it that you do juggle everything from your own needs and self-care to being an effective business owner to showing up for your family? What's that look like on a weekly basis?
Well, I've learned really quickly there are things I do very well, and there are a lot of things I don't do well. So for me, it's like, okay, it's delegate. I'm horrible. I hired a CPA. I don't want to spend years in prison because I don't do my taxes well. Like that's just not my thing. So hire somebody to do this. Like delegate the things that you are not good at. That for me, it might take me a whole day, but somebody else will take them 20 minutes, right? Like, why am I not paying them to do it? So find ways to help yourself out. And, ultimately for me, I ask myself the question, because yes, there are days when it's really intense and exhausting, and then there's others where you have more of a balance. But if you're being asked to go to like meetings or events, is it moving your business forward? So is it, really drastically going to benefit my business? I ask myself that. And if it's not, I don't go. I don't need to be at everything. Is whatever I'm being asked to do or whatever is being presented to me, like, is it directly aligning with my future personal goals or like really lighting me up? And if not, then I kindly say no. And that's actually a complete sentence. I sometimes, I feel I'm a nice girl and I feel bad. And I'm like, oh, well, you feel like you got to elaborate this whole, no, but blah, blah, blah. No, it's okay. You could say, no, thank you. I already have commitments that night, and you really, like I said, it's not always going to be a balance, but if you know what is important to you personally, what are your non-negotiables in life, you have to build your life, or you have to build your business around that. Or in, let's say, 20 years, your business will be, quote, successful, but you'll look back, you're getting divorced, your kids hate you, your health's failing, you're miserable, you work 80 hours a week. Like, what? That, to me, that is not success at all.
Yeah. So on that note, one of the things that I noticed just as I was reading through some of your work is just this lightheartedness about the way that you approach life. What role would you say laughter has played in your success?
I think you have to laugh at yourself. Like, I've done enough ridiculous things in life that now I'm like, just put it out there, because, you have to laugh at yourself and have some fun with life. It's not that serious. You know what I mean? And the world's a heavy place. Like, you could allow yourself to be bogged down and brought down by all this heaviness and negativity out in the world, right? But I personally choose to kind of live under a rock. Like, I don't watch the news because it depresses me. I can't handle it. I'm an empath and I'm like, oh my gosh, what happened? I jokingly call it death and destruction to my husband because he loves the news. And he's like, so we laugh about it. But yeah, you have to stay positive and laugh. That's the only way for me. I don't know. It's way more fun.
If there was one thing, if there was one secret that you wish everybody knew, right? If you wish it wasn't, it could not be a secret anymore. Just everyone knew it. What would that one thing be?
I would say, and I don't know how much of a secret this is, but like, I don't know if enough people actually do it is find your people that love you completely, the good, the bad, the ugly, and they are still just cheering you on and they want you to succeed. Because there's people out there that will, if you're a high achiever and you're out like doing things in life, there's always going to be the haters. There is. And so find the people that you go hang out with, you feel filled up, they energize you, they inspire you, because that actually will help propel you even further, past where you're at right now.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I think being careful with who those people are, right? Because some people, especially when you start to split the world of family and entrepreneurism, there are some people who are family who want to see you succeed, but may even see your business as a threat to that because it's scary for them too. So yeah, I couldn't agree more, especially in those early days. And we never graduate from this, but I think the early days, it's easiest to overlook it because we're so busy doing so many things. I think that's powerful. Now, tell us just a little bit about your book. Why did you feel you needed to write it? What are you hoping that readers get out of it?
So I have to just say, I never, ever wanted to write a book. It was not on my goal, like not a goal of mine at all. I met this woman who owns a publishing house in Denver, and I was like, I just love her energy. So I talked to her and I'm like, I think I could do that. And then I'm like, still have no clue what the book would be about. And I just sat down and it ended up being all these short stories of things that I've gone through in life. Some are pretty traumatic, some are kind of in the middle, some are lighter. But just like I said, kind of sharing it in a vulnerable, different way, and just saying, I'm a hot mess most of the time, but I am trying my best. I'm like, I want to be a better person. I want to grow, right? And so it's really honestly kind of putting myself out there to give people permission to drop your shame and guilt around stuff that's happened to you. Love yourself. Let's be real. Let's actually share, because I guarantee if you're a mom or whatever, and somebody out there is feeling the same way, I guarantee it, but you aren't connecting and you're feeling alone because you're not saying anything about it, right? So I just want to have people, not feel alone. I want them to feel connected and be able to be vulnerable. And not everyone needs to start a podcast about it or write a book, but kind of at this point in my life, that's what I was feeling called to do. And now I have this beautiful message, that I feel the need to share with people.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So where can folks get a copy of the book, and where can they also find out more about you and the work that you're doing?
Yeah, I'd say the best place is just my website. It's chelseahusum.com. There's info, the book's on Amazon, but there's info about the book, speaking, different events, all that stuff. I also recently put it on there. I have a Unapologetic Life workbook for free. It's just a little pop-up right when you go on there. You can grab that for free. And those are just things that when I would be kind of in a rut, I put that together. Like if I'm kind of in a rut and I'm like in a funk, these are the things that really help me dig out of it pretty quickly. So thought I'd share that with everybody. But yeah, my website's probably the best place.
Fantastic. We'll add that chelseahusum.com to the show notes. You can go ahead and click there, check it out. Brilliant site. Well done. Lots of great content on there. Well, Chelsea, thanks so much for being here. Just a privilege having you on the show. And for those of you watching and listening today, your time and attention mean the world to us. I hope you got as much out of this conversation as I know I did, and I cannot wait to see you next time. Take care.